Hello again, I'm back with another hair coloring tutorial. I've done quite a few of these over the past couple days, but I wanted to make sure that I included lots of different images with different types of hair and different color combos, so you got a good variety because there's so many different stamped images out there and digi images to color, and you know, the hair always looks different on each individual company's stamp. The one I'm using today is actually a little digi stamp, and this is from Tiddly Inks. The artist is Christy Kroll, and the reason I picked this digi stamp was because there was a lot of open space in the hair, and I wanted to show you two different ways that I would color this to give you an idea of how you can color them up. It doesn't mean that you have to follow what I do exactly, but it just gives you a couple ideas of how to start coloring when you have hair that's really open. There's not a lot of lines drawn into it. This is the one that I've already colored up, and she'll actually be in my blog tomorrow. I just love her. I think she's so cute. I colored her with one of my favorite color combos, which I'll show you in a minute. And this is one way that I've colored her hair. Because her hair behind her is laying down, even though the light would be hitting it, because I'm doing a center light source, the light would be hitting more of the ends. The back of her head and the hair would actually be shadowing itself. So that's how I've colored it. So the hair that goes in towards her body is darker, and the hair on the outside is just a little bit of light there to show some movement and depth. And then I gave her some highlights in the center of her hair, because naturally your head is round, your bangs kind of come down around that, and that center part of the curve, if you think of your finger, the top of the curve, the light hits that the most, and as it goes down on each side it gets darker. Same thing with bangs. Back towards the crown it's the darkest, and as it comes forward towards that bump it starts getting lighter. The very top of the bump, or center curve of her bangs, is the lightest, and then again as it goes towards the bottom it gets darker. Again, I like a lot of contrast in my images, so I really darkened up my edges. You don't have to. You could keep those lighter if you'd like. I just think it gives a little bit more pop to the image. Really pulls it off the page. This is another way that I've colored, and I made her a little larger. I didn't color her all up, but I wanted to show you this. In one of my other videos I show you how to do hair that has waves, where it's hanging down long but it actually has some wave to it. You can actually create that in your image, even if it's just an open flat space. You color the same exact way in that other video, and I did that with the magnolia stamps. You color it the same way, and this just gives a different look to the stamp. Makes her hair look a little bit more wavier, as if it had some curl and body into the back side of it. Same colors, just a different variation. I'm just going to show you the one way today, but I wanted to show you this as an alternative of how you can color hair that doesn't have any lines in it. This is one of my all-time favorite color combos for hair, especially for brunette. It's E25, E31, and E50. Again, like the other color combos I've shown you, you can, create different looks with this combo. You could subtract the light and add a darker to make it a really dark brunette, or you could use less of this E25 and use more of the lighter colors to make it a little bit lighter brunette. So another way that you can alternate your color combos. As always, I'm going to start with my darkest color, and in this case it's E25. I always stroke my marker in the way the hair grows, keeping in line with the way the image has been drawn. I'm going to go against that crown area and bring in some of that darkness along the back sides of her hair, and then up on the tips of her bangs. Down here along the sides. And again, I'm going to keep this area here the lightest, pulling in the darker areas where they would be shadowed more towards her body on that back side. Remember, you can go back and add more of the darker. If you don't color dark to light, that's fine too. Just reverse everything I'm doing. This is E31, and I'm just working not really over what I've done, maybe just over the edges a little bit, and out. I don't want to color or change the color of that E25 I just want to bring that color forward more. And then taking E50, I'm just going to fill in. I'm not super worried about blending right now. I'm laying down that color first. If you're curious what paper I'm using, today I'm using the Cryogen Iridescent from the paper Temptress. It's one of my favorites. I'm coming back in with my E25. And I'm using little lines to kind of replicate the strands of hair. Very lightly. You don't have to put a lot of pressure into your markers to make them work for you. The less ink you use, the better. Easier to control, and you can always come back and add more. Put a lot of ink down first, it's going to be harder to blend and get the color that you want. And now with the E50, coming in and just blending those out. And I always go back with E31. And just touch up any of those little spots. Because as the marker dries on the paper, the alcohol lifts up. The color that you've laid down will naturally go a little bit lighter. So there's always room for you to come back in and darken it up. You can even step away from the image for a couple minutes to see how the colors are going to dry, and that can kind of give you some input on how to come back and add some more color. It may be a little lighter than you thought when you were coloring it. Come in. And again, as I've said with hair, you have to work at it. It's not always going to be perfect the first time you lay down your color. It never is for me, and I don't really know anybody that it might be that way. You have to work at it a little bit more. It's a little tougher of a concept to color. It takes practice to get used to it. You want it to look natural, so take your time with it and go back, look at it, watch it dry, add a little bit more color. It's okay. Everyone does it. Don't feel that you have to keep coming back and touching up is a problem, because I do the same thing all the time. In fact, once this dries, I may even come back and darken it up even more. Just depends. A lot of times I'll finish my card and I'll go back and add a little bit more color to the image even after the card is finished. And there you go. Not a super hard technique, but again, you have to kind of play with it. You have to work with it, work with your colors. In here she is all colored up. Put these two together. So, when you don't have the rest of the image colored, the hair looks much darker. Once you have the rest of the image colored, it lightens up a little bit. It can look a little stark here. But remember, if you have problems coloring hair, color the hair first before you do the rest of the image. That way, if you mess up, it's easy to start over again without having spent time on coloring the whole image. Start with the hair first and then move on once you're happy with it. And like I said, if you have to work at it a little bit more, if you keep coming back and adding more color, that's fine. Everyone's going to do that. Everyone's going to find the way that they like to color their hair the best. And again, you don't have to follow my directions exactly or my color combos. I'm just giving you some alternatives and how to use your Copics and not be so frustrated when you're doing hair. So I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial, and I'll see you back here in a bit.